So I was having a conversation with one of my family members, and we were discussing LGBT. Now, as people may know, LGBT is a very sensitive topic, unfortunately, for some people, and they can't back up what they have to say, so they go by their usual rhetorics that are pushed on them in society. So I went back and forth with my particular family member, and they was trying to defend them having a dyke friend. Now, if you have a particular friend who may be on the other side and they have a particular lifestyle that they practice that is different from yours, by all means, do you. However, the particular argument that my family member was making is that they cannot be friends with a woman because, they might have a particular attraction to them or so on and so forth. So they'd rather be friends with dykes than be friends with pretty women, and that's a whole nother topic for another day that we cannot go in this particular video. The main argument that is being pushed here is that the particular dyke friend that my particular family member has is just the way they are. And a lot of people have heard this before, even in social media, even on the mainstream white stream media, is that these particular dykes, LGBT, and they added some more letters to the dang acronym for whatever community they want to claim. My particular family member was trying to say that their dyke friend is born this way. This is how they was always grown up to be. And the thing is that my particular family member was not, arguing off of a logical or reasonable basis. They was arguing off of what the particular dyke, has to say about these particular situations. Ever since I was little, I always had an attraction for, the same sex, so on and so forth. And this particular rhetoric is pushed in the LGBT community. This is a rhetoric that is pushed in society so that people at a very young age will be deceived into thinking, that they was, born into being a sexual being. Because that's essentially what it's saying, is that if you was born a lesbian, if you was born gay, if you was born straight, that means that you was born a sexual being. And these particular situations and these concepts can only be created by pedophiles. And yes, the LGBT is created by pedophiles. The LGBT is created by pedophiles. But that's neither here nor there. The argument here is that my particular family member was trying to say that I can't judge a dyke, or I can't judge somebody a part of the LGBT community because I'm not a part of their community. Now, I told this particular person that if I was to study the nature and the history of a particular race of people, could I then make a accurate judgment, even upon today and now in the way they perpetrate themselves? Can I make an accurate judgment? And I was talking about white people. Can I make an accurate judgment? And especially with us being black people, African descent people, can I make an accurate judgment upon how white people are based upon my history and the things in terms of the dynamics between the African race and the Caucasian race, And my family member rebutted this particular situation by saying that, you can't judge, white people or whatever. They can't judge us, or they can't try to be us and this, that, and the third. So you can't judge a gay person because, of how they were born and this, that, and the third. And I told this particular family member that you cannot put sexuality and race in the same category. Now, ignorantly, my family member responded saying, oh, but you could compare LGBT to race. You could compare LGBT to studying white people. You could compare LGBT to white people. And I said, no, I didn't. I said that I could study the nature and the mindset and the psychology of LGBT people and come to the conclusion of how they came out to be this way, just like I can study the nature of a white person and why they perpetrate themselves in the same way. I did not compare sexuality to race. I didn't say that just like a person was born white, that means they could be born gay in terms of the nature. You have to understand, nobody is born a sexual being. And for even more of a matter, nobody was born for the same sex. If you study biology, the biology of a man is made for the woman because that's the only person that he can reproduce with and create a family. Same and vice versa for a woman. But the main course of this particular video is that my particular family member was trying to say that I was casting judgment. Something that's another rhetoric, with LGBT, is that you're casting judgment upon these particular people, right? And this is what my family member was saying, that I'm judging these people. You shouldn't judge somebody, if you're not a part of their community or if you're not them, right? And that's a very illogical statement. It's not reasonable to come to that conclusion that I can't judge something or someone, especially if what they are doing is not only illogical, but is abnormal. You know what I'm saying? And it's based upon society. Society tells us what to judge and what not to judge. You know what I'm saying? It's ironic because this society can judge straight black men, heterosexual black men. They can judge how we perpetrate our masculinity. They can judge our narrative upon black love. But when it comes to LGBT, when it comes to white women, so on and so forth, we're supposed to stay quiet. If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. So they limit our freedom of speech to what they adhere to. But anyways, going back to judgment, I told my particular family member, at first, I fell for it. I was like, I'm not judging them. I came to the conclusion, I am judging them, right? But here's the thing. When we cast judgment upon certain things, we cast good judgment upon certain things and bad judgment. It even tells you in the Bible, if you're going to judge a righteous judgment. If you go to a court, and the judge comes to a accurate and righteous conclusion upon the situation, that was a righteous judgment. So in the same conclusion, we are able as human beings, people who have a subconscious and people who have intellect, we are able to come to a conclusion upon certain situations and upon certain things that we see in this world, And what society tries to tell you is that you can't judge certain things that we adhere to. You can't judge certain things that we condone. You see what I'm saying? And so that's basically the rhetoric that the LGBT, community pushes upon people, that you can't judge these particular people because, one, you're not them, and two, you don't know what they go through, and three, it causes depression. My family member tries to go with the other rhetoric, another rhetoric that they try to use is that you're the reason why they kill themselves and why they commit suicide, why it causes depression, because you judge them. And that's not true. Judgment does not cause a person of LGBT to kill themselves. And then people may watch this and be like, yes, it does. This amount of black men, gay black men or gay black women have committed suicide because of depression. And the reason why they're going through depression is not because of judgment. It's because of things that they have failed to confront. Situations that have happened to them from being a child. You know what I'm saying? Things that have happened to them in terms of what has happened to them sexually. Things of what they have been revealed to. You know what I'm saying? These particular rhetorics that are pushed out in the society, and then, it messes with their mind to the point where they think they are something that they're not. So it has nothing to do with judgment. You know what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with this society. It has everything to do with the psychology, the psyche of a particular person. It has to do with, experience. What have they went through? If anybody studies psychology, and if anybody studies, depression, you know what I'm saying? In terms of sexuality, 9 out of 10 of the time, it's not due to, judgment. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get judged either way for anything that you do, even outside of sexuality. So, judgment, homosexual people do not kill themselves because of judgment. They have a whole community where they can be free and be who they are. You see what I'm saying? So it's a very poor and illogical statement to make. But in conclusion, when dealing with judgment, you as a particular black person, black man, or black woman, don't let anybody take away your voice. If they have the right to be, outspoken about anything, not just homosexuality, but anything in terms of, how you see things, you have every right to be for it or against it. If people are talking about love is love, you have every right to say black love is divine. If people over here saying LGBT, you have every right to say that black love is divine. You have every right to say that the black family should be first and that a black man should be with a black woman and a black woman should be with a black man. Nobody should be able to take away your voice. If people are saying that black men can be gender fluid and they can perpetrate themselves however they want to, you have every right to say that a black man should be masculine and he should be a provider and a supplanter for his people, and that he should be a warrior and a soldier and not in his mother's dress. You have every right to do that. Who is to tell you that you can't do that? And this is what this society teaches, is that, you know, this form of hate speech. You know, if you have nothing good to say, then you shouldn't say it at all. You know, and they try to minimize, you know, your points. They try to minimize who you are as black people because of how we perpetrate ourselves and how we conduct ourselves and stuff like that. But in conclusion, when it comes to judgment, you are able to make a righteous judgment and you are able to make a non-righteous judgment, you know, which is condemnation and shaming. But you are able to give somebody good criticism, you know, constructive criticism upon certain situations, and you are able, even outside of constructive criticism, are able to make righteous judgments as well, you know. And a lot of people aren't there mentally to even know that, you know, and they'll try and cast you, you're homophobic, you hate gays, just say you hate gays and we'll be done with. And the thing is that they created this term homophobic, just like they created the term fatphobic and fat shaming and slut shaming. They come up with these certain terminologies so that they can try and minimize your freedom of speech upon certain situations that are very logical, you know. So they try and cast a name at you so that you can feel bad about being logical. You see what I'm saying? And the thing is, there's no such thing as either one of these three. You know what I'm saying? You can't be a homophobic unless you really have an irrational fear of homosexuals. So it doesn't make sense for you to be homophobic. I'm not homophobic because I don't have a fear of homosexuals. I don't fear being in the midst of a homosexual, or he might take my booty, something like that. Or like it doesn't work that way. There's no such thing as a homophobic, you know, homophobia, because a phobia is a disorder. It's a actual disorder that somebody has where they have an irrational anxiety, you know, of something or someone. If somebody's claustrophobic, they have an irrational fear of being in tight spaces. They may not know why, but that's just how they are. You know, so it's the same thing with homophobia or fat phobia. You know, there's no such thing as these particular things. You know what I'm saying? But I don't want to go any more further than this. That's all the time that I have for today. I'm Tyrone. If you want to know more information upon the very information upon homosexuality, read the ISIS paper by Dr. Frances Cress Wilson. She has very great information upon these various situations concerning homosexuality and how this society is trying to emasculate and effeminize the black man so that they can try and take down the black nation. Very great book, very informative. But until next time, I'm Tyrone. Become a Patreon because more information like this will be put on my my page, you know, and I'm trying to build up my Patreon so that people can get the exclusive, in-depth information upon these particular situations, because you know how YouTube and certain social medias be. But until next time, I'm Tyrone, and I am out.
Little children need a male and a female parent that are functioning together. A father who loves a little girl is one of the best brakes on boy craziness. You know what boy crazy is? Longing for father, and father not being there. So the little girl has to convince herself that some boy likes her. Do you all understand? See, don't feel bad. We're at home looking at what has happened to us. We've got to look at it so we can change it and make it what we want it to be. Another parent this week, going through a divorce, acrimonious relationship. We're sitting in the courthouse. The mother said, my daughter said to me, she's talking to me and her attorney. My daughter said, Mommy, I think I'm going to grow up and be a lesbian. This is 12. The mother said, what? She said, a lesbian. The mother said, well, why would you say that? She said, I'm looking at all the trouble that you and Daddy are going through. And I don't want those headaches when I grow up. I mean, this is out of the mouths of children. Do you all understand? We are being programmed to what? Hate one another. None of us would be here were it not for contribution from father and contribution from mother. But the social dynamic can make us hate each other. Hate ourselves and hate each other until we have thoroughly gone into total genocide. Because genocide is just the opposite face of white supremacy. If I'm afraid that somebody else's genetics will overpower me, then my brain computer will simply work out logical solutions leading right up to genocide. So we have to reflect on this. Well, Dr. Wilson, what do you suggest that we do? I suggest that we understand we are at war. A war is being waged against us.